Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and I'm holding on to my new iPhone 7. It's upside down, but is it really? Am I holding it wrong? Oh! Johnny saw what I did there. Remember back in the day, you're holding it wrong? The problem that some people had with antennas on their iPhones, I never had that problem. Just like I seemingly don't have half the problems that a lot of iPhone owners have with their devices, because I tend not to focus on hardware problems, even though, yes, when I have a hardware problem, I know it's a hardware problem. I really don't see the best part of a smartphone being the hardware, believe it or not. Don't get me wrong, I like a smartphone that is possibly the best experience that can be provided by the provider of that smartphone experience, but that kind of speaks to the heart of the matter for me. I am more of a fan of software, always have been, always will be. I'm not someone who really gets a kick out of new hardware, apart from having a better software experience. So, when iOS 7 was released, I was told by many people, oh, don't worry, Apple will fix it. And then they released iOS 8. Don't worry, Apple will fix it. And then they released iOS 9. Don't worry, Apple will fix it. And then they released iOS 10. So, I, as you might realize, have been using iPhones since the first iPhone and have seen an evolution. I picked up and already unboxed, you may have already seen that video, the iPhone 7 Plus. And as I was running through my list of issues, and I mean, there is a near exhaustive list of issues, regular as well as intermittent frame rate skips, frame rate inconsistencies, anything where normally it should be 60 frames per second, very smooth, but suddenly it jumps. That's a skip, that's a frame drop, it's a frame rate issue. And I'm finding as this list is getting longer and longer, look at it in the description. The belief that I have now is that Apple has I'm not going to go as far as to say quality control problem. They have a systemic problem with iOS. And this is the only thing that could explain it. Now, that being said, I've only had the experience with this in hand with the iPhone 7 Plus. So what I noted, and I've put my current list in the description, a few things that you should be able to replicate with a relative degree of ease. The problem is you may not see these things. That's a big problem. Not because the problem doesn't exist, but because some people don't see the problem, including Apple's engineers. You can't fix a problem if you can't see that it's a problem, but it's absolutely a problem. To the point here of me getting to the iPhone 7 unboxing. I'm going to do that right now. It's really pretty much like the iPhone 7 Plus unboxing for the most part. But, I just like, layering in my opinion, right? When I do these types of things. Anybody can do an unboxing. But, a lot of those quote-unquote tech reviewers are doing a horrible job if they don't tell you about the software shortcomings. And I don't just mean, well, it doesn't do this. No. That's not what I'm talking about. Those who have not seen glaring issues with performance from iOS 7 on up cannot be trusted. Their advice in relation to technology cannot be trusted. If they only look at a piece of hardware as a piece of hardware, they're only getting part of the picture. A great piece of hardware can be crippled if it has a poor piece of software. But a poor piece of hardware with good software can actually be a salvageable experience. Now, some have said, well, Chris, you're saying these things. Why don't you just try something else? Wow, you should just vote that way. No, that's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. Number one, I believe Apple can do better. I know for a fact Apple has done better with older hardware. The funny thing is, I could write these things down all day long, and some people say, oh, why don't you do a video on it? If you don't see it for yourself, no video is going to convince you otherwise. I'm serious about that. But today, when I picked up the iPhone 7, which, by the way, is regular black, you can tell by the box, because the box is not a black box. as the iPhone 7 Plus Jet Black that I got came in. I really probably want this one more, but I don't know. As I open this, let me go ahead and tell you the story of today. So I had to get an appointment at the Apple Store and talk to someone. And I said, let me just go ahead and tell you. I said, unless you don't want to hear it, in which case I will be quiet. Let me just tell you what I'm doing and why. And so I proceeded to show her. And she was, to her credit, she was fascinated. And I mean, I could tell when someone's ready to, have me be quiet and then move on with life. And I let her get off the hook a few times. I was like, okay, just let me know if you need me to stop talking. But she was seemingly captivated. And I don't think that's just, something that she had to do as someone who works at the Apple Store. I genuinely know that she was interested. I proceeded to show her one thing, pretty much just one thing where it was replicable every time. On your iPhone 7, I don't know if this is... I'm getting to where I know of experiences of the iPhone 7 through Corey Moore's experience. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sorry about the cursor, although I will try not to curse throughout the rest of this video. On the iPhone 7 Plus, you can open up messages. And if you've got a laundry list of messages, go ahead. When I'm talking about the message list, go ahead, scroll up and down. Scroll. Scroll down, stop it, scroll. The iPhone 6S had no problem with this. The iPhone 7 Plus... the world's fastest smartphone. So I don't know if I'm going to have the same problem with the iPhone 7. And that's a great way of demonstrating just one of dozens of frame rate issues I've had with the iPhone 7 Plus. One. Now, the others are very subtle. Very subtle. And I found out just this afternoon in the process of coming home, there's another one that I could replicate that isn't prevalent on the 6S. I opened up a PDF attachment. It was a receipt. And I noticed on the 7 Plus, not having the 6S in hand, that there was a discrepancy in the animation. Lo and behold, when I came home, the animation of opening up that PDF attachment in email was smoother on the 6S compared to the 7 Plus. My question is not whether or not this is going to give me a good box fart. Hang on. Wait for it. No box fart this time. My question is whether or not the 7, with pretty much the same internals driving the phone, minus the screen and the screen resolution, same CPU, GPU, clock speed, etc., if it is going to show the same frame rate inconsistencies as the 7 Plus has been showing me. And I've got documentation. Boom, boom. If I wrote it down, I saw it. If I wrote it down a certain way, I know I've seen it more than once and can replicate it. And I can see it. So I've got to basically build this 7 to be much like my 7 Plus to see if I see the same problems. Or maybe I'm going to see the same problems, but not as dramatic as the problems that I've seen on the 7 Plus. It may be a wash. And this is my big concern as I continue to unbox the 7. My concern is that they're both going to perform similarly because of something that Corey had said. I noted my very first point in the list. I actually had to do a couple of things in the process of setting up the 7 Plus. The slide to shut down during the initial setup screens, I actually had to shut down just to check to make sure everything was going fine. And I saw a frame skip, a jump of in the slide to shut down. Shocking. It doesn't get much more than a stock performance, in terms of getting an accurate measurement of what the platform can handle than that. That was kind of the moment. So the first thing I noticed, and Corey unfortunately noticed the same thing in his 7 setup experience today. Not 7 Plus, 7. The initial springboard launch after setup skips a frame. It jumps. There's an animation jump. There's a skipped frame in that animation. That very first impression that you have is a stain. I don't care how beautiful you think this thing looks. That software is a stain. So, my concern is that these two devices are going to perform similarly. That's a concern. Because the 6S seems to perform better in certain cases. In other cases, it doesn't perform better. So it's kind of a weird little trade-off. I'm not sure what's going on. My feeling is this. We've got this new quote-unquote quad-core system where Apple has eked out, and I'm guessing this is how, eked out more battery life, because a lot of people do complain about battery life. That is a legitimate complaint. No doubt about it. Would I want all-day battery life? Absolutely. Has battery life always been a driver for me? No, it hasn't. I'm usually plugged in somewhere. I'm good. Do I want a longer battery life? Yes. But at the cost of what? So in architecting their new CPU, they've got two sets of processors. One is a performance processor, which is probably not always on, because I'm guessing that would diminish battery life rather rapidly, much like a dedicated graphics card in one of their MacBooks, right? You've got your integrated chipset, and then you've got, a dedicated graphics card, and you get more power out of it, and, a lot of applications. There's automatic switching. There used to be a toggle you could set always on to the dedicated video card versus the integrated card, which wasn't as powerful. So my belief, not being an engineer, not yet having been able to get a hold of someone at Apple. I have emailed Phil Schiller on Raul Madera's suggestion. That's what he did. I didn't hear back. It's possible I landed in a junk mail folder. It's possible that he printed my email and then burned it. I don't know. I sent a shorter email today saying, I don't know if you caught it. If I don't hear back from Phil, I may email Tim. If I don't hear back from Tim, I may email Craig. I'm going to keep going down the list until I get to someone at Apple who's listening to not just my concern. It's not just me anymore. If you don't see the problem, don't worry. We're going to fix it for you. Even if you don't need it to be fixed, or don't perceive it as needing to be fixed, it does. I'm thinking they're using those lower performance CPUs to run system animations, transitions. That's really the only explanation I can come up with as to why some animations on a quote-unquote slower 6S are running fantastically more smooth than the same animations on the 7 Plus. I have to find out how those animations run specifically on the 7 with the same CPU setup as the 7 Plus. But Corey hasn't really given me a lot of hope. I don't know. It's kind of like I'm not going to let this go. I didn't let it go after 7, and it's just it angers me even more. I was talking to somebody else. I'm keeping a lot of names out of this, but he says you're the only one talking about this, and he didn't mean that in a bad way, almost like a good way. Like you're the only one talking about it. It's inexplicable why I'm the only one talking about it. And maybe other people are. That's great. Let's band together. I know other people are concerned with the fact that Apple is failing consistently on its promise to deliver 60 frames per second. They promised that. In iOS 9 revision, Tim Cook stood on stage, 60 frames per second performance. I haven't seen it. Have you? Maybe you think you have, but trust me, I stood in that store. And the helper, the employee, she saw me and she was like, oh my God, how could you not see that? How could you not see that? It was a rather dramatic example, but it's just one example. It's probably the most dramatic example I can find because it just happens every time. And it's disgusting. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm gunning for. So my only hope in this, if they are using those slower CPUs to push the system animations out in an effort to save battery life, my only wish is, as they have done a reduced motion, a little slider in accessibility in iOS, just make another slider, maybe in accessibility, maybe somewhere else, that says, maybe you wouldn't want to brand it like reduce battery life. No one would effectively do that, but maybe like reduce efficiency, or reduce performance or increase performance or increase efficiency. So I think increase out of all those, that's the least negative one, increase efficiency. So just that toggle would make it marketing wise not so damaging as, stop providing a crappy experience. So let's just go with that for argument's sake. Increase efficiency. Most people are going to say, yeah, I want to increase efficiency. So they turn it on. And then all of the this is a big fat if that's the case that Apple's doing that, if they're stunting the performance of iOS to save battery life. So increase efficiency. Yes. Let that be the default. But if you turn it off, then what if everything just goes through those top 2 performance cores? I'd lose 2 hours of battery life in my phone if it meant that those hours I spent with the phone were better. Rather than, would I rather spend 8 hours with the phone that was agitating at every turn as I perceive it? And again, this isn't, Chris, why don't you try something? Dude, y'all have to understand, it's not just this device, man. It's this one, it's that one, it's this one, it's that one. It's every experience in an archipelago of devices, not just one device anymore. It's this one, it's this, it's that. It's all those things together with that. Not just this one thing. So it's not as easy to throw this one thing out and just try something else. I want to make this thing better. And if I don't speak up, no one else is, apparently. Can't trust the media. Can't trust these quote-unquote tech reviewers. All of whom, as far as I'm concerned, have failed on every front. So, no, high performance is probably a bad thing, because most people would look at it and say, yeah, I want a high performance. And then they would, in effect, decrease their efficiency. So I think improve or increase efficiency would be the right way of doing it. Most people can't see the difference. So if they're increasing their efficiency, they get it. But if you're not increasing your efficiency and you know what that toggle means, you're suddenly unlocking the full power of what is allegedly the smartest smartphone on the planet, the fastest smartphone on the planet. That would make it smart. That could mitigate the frame drops. Maybe not all of them, because again, I believe the way the way iOS was architected was specifically without this kind of performance in mind. It went out the window. There has not been a 60 frame per second experience on a single iOS device. Not one. A consistent 60 frame per second experience on a single iOS device since iOS 7 was foisted upon us, and as far as I'm concerned, rushed out the door. And I don't want to hear, well, Apple's, it's more stable now, they fixed a lot of bugs and less crashes. Okay, great. You're still dropping frames left and right. How do I file a bug report that I can't always replicate because your system can't handle it? I'm still stuck in a feedback loop. I can't submit feedback in the beta. It never sends. So what I'm saying is, I'm going to try this. One of these phones is going back. Just one. One of these phones. I don't know which one yet. Because if it's a wash, I'm probably going to stick with the Plus. If it's a wash. Camera's great. Camera works very well. I really like I used the 2x magnifier today, that second lens. It worked like a charm. It was great. Outdoors, you need a lot of light for it. The portrait mode in beta is still very gimmicky. Very gimmicky. And it remains to be seen whether or not that's going to be truly fleshed out. It may remain a gimmick. I'm just saying, it's interesting. There's a lot of work. It's definitely beta. I'm glad Apple released that in beta. So I'm going to try. I'm going to have to keep a separate list almost, like what do I perceive here? Did I see a frame drop here? And I'm really going to use my master list on the 7 Plus, to do the comparison. So there it is. The matte, which I probably would have been very happy with, over the jet black. I'm happy with the jet black. I like the jet black, but I think I would be equally as happy, if not more happy, because I'm less stressed about this. There have been people who have said that third-party apps seemingly don't have as many frame drops as on the 7 compared to the Plus, and they actually return their Plus for that reason. Arguably, yes, the lens apparatus in taking a photo, takes an amalgamation of the two and places it into one photo, makes a sharper image. I don't think that's enough to keep me on board. I don't think the extra battery life is enough to keep me on board the Plus if performance is worse in any way, shape, or form. I will boot it up if the power down drops frames. Yeah, I am. I'm going to get it all set up. This is an unboxing. If you want someone else not talking about it and giving you the same thing that you get in every other tech video that you watch, I'm not the guy for you. I'm not joking, folks. I'm not. I do video. Doesn't make me a video producer. I talk about the things that I'm interested in and passionate about. Whatever that is, whether it's Star Wars, a gadget that I got. What upsets me is that not enough people are talking about it. So the rest of the unboxing, you got your adapter. Pretty neat little standard adapter. And of course, the thing that everyone's upset about. For some reason, this is what upsets them. Okay. All right. The lightning adapter with the headphone jack, and then the earpods, which I don't use. Lightning cable. I got another lightning cable. That's pretty awesome. I really like the way they actually put the lightning cable together. It was very neat. The why don't they engineer their software as well as they engineer their hardware? Why? What? They used to. God, I'd take skeuomorphism back in a heartbeat if it meant that I got a more responsive system. That I stopped seeing the slop. I'm retweeting everybody who's like tweeting me screenshots and stuff, or posting GIFs of the animation problems they're seeing. I mean, I'm retweeting them all. Like, some people are saying that I'm complaining too much. I say others aren't complaining enough. See how I just kind of flipped that on the air? Yeah, 6 is definitely having issues. 6S did okay. 6S worked better with the 10 by and large than 9 on the 6S. 7 Plus has performed for the most part marginally better. Like I said, I think they're careful about battery life. Apple's very careful about battery life. I really do believe that. But if they warn you about what, you could lessen your battery life by toggling this to this, just let it happen. Let me be in control of it. I mean, I don't care. I'm not talking about open and blah. I don't care. Keep doing it the way you're doing it, like in terms of controlling the experience. That's fine. Give me an option, a toggle, a slide, click. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. And I'm telling you, I bet you anything, the difference would be night and day. Happily, I would lose 2 hours of battery life for that. And I'm not saying that's what would happen. I think Apple should actually do a better job with software engineering so that I didn't have to do that. But they're not. And they're not going to. What's the quickest path to improving these experiences? That, to me, if it is the case that Apple is throttling to save battery life, I'm not going to say it's a quick fix, but it seems to me that would be a quicker fix than cleaning up the mess that's iOS. And you can't claim that iOS isn't a mess. Google's starting to school them. Years ago, they started to school them. Not saying Android's better. This isn't a conversation about Android. It's not a conversation about switching. Not interested. So, I've now unboxed it. I've shown you everything in the box. I don't know what else to say. I've got my list of issues down below. You're free to try them yourself. Some of them are intermittent. And if you're aware of when these things happen, you become attuned to them. Those who don't see it, but some guy got mad. I don't know if it was a nice mad. In Facebook, he's like, "Gosh, you told me about this. Now I can't unsee it." Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Too much talking. Well, that's what you get. My name is Chris Pirillo. I did this live for my patrons at chrispirillo.com. They get pretty much 99% of the tech talk that I might do on any regular basis. I'm probably far more interested in Star Wars. I never have to complain about Star Wars. There's no reason to. It always brings me joy. I look forward to it. This is the best kind of thing we got out there today. At least for what I need, from what my family needs, from the experiences that extend beyond a piece of hardware. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I got to get this thing set up. I want to do this. I have to do this, obviously, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to see the same perf. I'm so worried. I'm so worried about the baggage retrieval systems they've got at Heathrow. Did anybody catch that reference? Yeah, maybe not. I'm such a nerd. I love you. I appreciate you. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Today's free highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrispirillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me, plus other bonus content without ads, and support me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my Supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you. Again, get more through chrisperillo.com.